the Mexicans taking over California now, and they're being put through to colleges. They're getting grants when our kids are having to, and we're having to pay through the nose for these colleges.
Well, let's back it down to what you said and do a bottom line here. It really boils down to education, doesn't it? We have the dumbed down society, which right now, according to what I have read and heard, we cannot compete with third world countries in math and science. We cannot compete with them. But the problem, all this technology and so forth, whatever is being claimed, and all the money and computers and everything else thrown at education, isn't solving our problem, because there is a very concerted, calculated effort to dumb down our people and make them just a federal workforce.
The education is so much of it. We've been, this is why I have Timothy Bible College and Little Red Schoolhouse at the top of the list here. It's at the top of my page, because this is important. For cigarettes.
I don't go to a doctor. I don't hire lawyers. I've learned to do it all myself, because the people under 50 years old in this country haven't got a clue what they're doing, even if they got the paper hanging on the walls. That sounds cynical, but I am sorry. I think that is probably fairly accurate.
By the way, guys, if you notice on my film on this issue, and by the way, let me. This is the second half of the show. Dr. Jake Wade is my guest today. He's the dean at Timothy Bible College. He's the founder of the Little Red Schoolhouse. He's the pastor of the Way Church in the Wilderness, and we're recording here on the second half. This will go up on YouTube. It's we're talking about education. The theme of today's show was John 7:37-38. Come and I'll give you living water. Now we're giving you an education here. We're giving you this. Everything that's happening here has happened before, and the Bible tells you there's nothing new under the sun.
Right. And the living water, if you read the whole of the Bible and not just pick out little parts, Jesus very clearly says if you want to progress in your education and get the advantages of the living water, you have to educate yourself by the book, by the Bible. So the people who have come in here and said, let's dumb them down, hit us right where they knew to get us.
Now, let me ask you, I'm going to have Skip Baker on my show this next week. I put up his latest artwork. He's a great artist. He's a great artist. There's great layouts. And he talks about the Jews, but he doesn't really call them Jews, because that name is really just made up. It's created. This is the Pharisees at work. It's a New World Order at work. It's the bankers at work. It's the Zionists at work. But he talks about that the Jews were never the tribe of Judah. Some, few of them, and I've told Gordon Duff, he's been on my show many times, he happens to come from a Jewish family, and he's he's a veteran, and Veterans Today, editor of Veterans Today. And I said, Gordon, I don't have any problem believing your ancestors and my ancestors walked across the Caucasus Mountains, to get out of slavery in Syria, and mine might have gone to Germany, yours might have gone somewhere else. But tell me, just talk a little bit about Edom, about Idumea, about the people that God told David to destroy. Now, did that happen? Was that? Am I getting this right? You have studied the most.
Let me back you up. Before he told David to destroy them, that was accurate. But before that, when they came out of Egypt and were 40 years in the desert, and God killed all of them over 40 except Joshua and Caleb, he took those kids under 40 years old into the promised land, and he said, all right, I didn't bring your parents in here because their thinking is messed up. It's that come out of Babylon thing. I got them out of Egypt. I had to leave them in the desert because of faulty thinking. He took the new ones in, and he said, as a mandate, before they ever hit Jericho, I want you to remove those people and their idols entirely. Burn everything to the ground. Do not keep anything they have, their livestock, their booty, if you will, or their goods. All of it's got to go to the ground. And the thing that caused them problems back then was they got tired of doing that and began to say, okay, well, that's not so bad. Let's just meld them into our society and our culture. And rather than teach them the right way, they allowed that influence to pervert what they were doing, to actually poison their way of life, which had been set up pretty purely by God. We've done the same thing in this country. If you start off with a Constitution, which is based on the Bible and the Magna Carta, and you start off with the Founding Fathers, who were predominantly Christians, trying to set up a perpetual Christian nation, they borrowed money from, and I'm not a beater up of the Jews, but they borrowed Jewish money. They borrowed foreign money, and the people they borrowed from caused an almost immediate head towards where we are now, because with that, they, if you're going to use my money, I'm going to control you, sort of thing. You have Jefferson warning about this. You've got Adams warning about it. You've got some of the Founding Fathers saying this is going to happen if you don't get away from what you had in England, what you see coming. And as a political science, I'm telling the truth. We have fallen prey to our own lack of keeping it pure.
And we had enemies back then too. One of our founding fathers was working for the banksters. Wasn't that Hamilton?
Yes. Yes.
And let's see, didn't somebody take his ass out?
Right. Yeah.
So,
the thing you pointed out is very accurate. We can't, if you've got an Islamic that wants to come into our Bible study on a Sunday afternoon, come on in. You got a Buddhist, come on in. You got a Hindu, you got a Jew. I don't care who you are. Come on in. We are not going to bar you, but don't bring your garbage in, your ideology in, and try to teach us what we don't want to hear.
We've heard all this, and folks, here's what they're trying to do, and this was predicted, and it was predicted by the Master Mason, the man that wrote Morals and Dogma. He said we were going to have, and this is a Civil War general, Albert Pike, brilliant man, but he told us we were going to have 3 world wars, and the third one would be with the Muslims. They are trying to set us up for that. That's what 9/11 was about, in my opinion. There were a couple of things. One, they had the Twin Towers were defective. They had an engineering firm in there that for 10 years it came to the conclusion that the only way they could get rid of the asbestos, the only way they could, because they couldn't build scaffolding that high, they had to come down. So the Jewish people, the Jews that controlled the Port Authority, sold it to Larry Silverstein's company. They sold it, and he immediately insured it. This is what we called in Texas 40 years ago an exaggerated case of Jewish lightning. And at the same time, we got to start a war with Iraq to go over and steal the gold, and we actually stole more than that. We cleaned out the
Chris, can I throw something in? There's not a lot of time left, and I try to bring this up this Sunday, but, and I was studying this morning. In the seventh chapter of Revelation, there are many who make a big fuss about, oh, well, there's 144,000, 12,000 of each of the 12 tribes of Israel that are guaranteed, they're locked in, they're going to heaven all on their own, even though they don't have Jesus. And that's not what it says. There are people that misread that take that for, there's that chosen people, and they are in error. It says if they keep reading and read the whole thing, there's a whole lot more people like us who have washed their robes white as snow. They have decided to go with God. And those 144,000 are going to have to go through a conversion and a teaching process and quite a bit of turmoil before they get anywhere near what that promise is.
That's right, and you know, Jake, I get.
And we're told to come out of, like you have said, we are told to come out of Babylon. I think we're in Babylon now. We have, this cessation thing, we're supposed to come out of Babylon. What's wrong with that?
I've also got another theory that I want to talk. I put this out on the a number of times here. That I think we're in Armageddon now. I just don't think the press has told us about it.
All right, let me handle that one if I might. Very literally, by the Bible, we are in Armageddon. Absolutely. It is an ideological location for a certain type of thinking. It's a gathering place. According to the Bible in Revelation, it is not a battle. It's not a war. It is a gathering place for people like us to fight the people like those who are evil. And that's exactly right. We're in the middle of it. We're not waiting on it. It's already going on.
We have had almost 1 billion people killed by their own governments in wars in this century, more than any time in history before. And
Let me ask you a question. Is that not a tribulation type of situation? People are waiting on de-tribulation. We're smack dab in the middle of a tribulation period that started, like you said, many years ago.
Now, I'm holding up my book, Mystery Babylon, The New World Order Unveiled. Matter of fact, Eli James, I just sent him some books. We're getting orders for books from Netherlands. I just sent off 2 books over to the Netherlands, and it says right on the cover here, folks, that 2,000 years ago, the Bible told us of the coming of the New World Order as the 8th beast, the mark of the beast, and warned us about the Jews who say they are Jews but are not. Jesus told us that they were liars and of their father Satan. In this book, the past meets the future. Now, I haven't sold a lot of these books, Jake, because they don't want people to know about it. This is a textbook, ladies and gentlemen. This is a textbook for Timothy Bible College, because it's got the whole history of the Rothschild, it's got the whole Homeland Security Assessment Report, it's got the whole story about Operation Watchtower, about George Bush's CIA director bringing all the cocaine into this country and the heroin into this country. And I've even got an endorsement from the Dean of Timothy Bible College for this book, don't I not?
We're just trying to teach the truth, and you have to publish that years ago.
Yeah, it's almost an autobiography, folks, because it tells you of the battle. And I didn't know I was in a battle. I didn't know, and to this day, by the way, to this day, I do not walk up to anybody and say, "Are you Jewish? Are you Muslim?" Our Constitution takes care of that. You can, if you want to beat your head against a Wailing Wall, knock yourself out. I'll watch. There's
a whole country here. There's a whole lot of people in this country that call themselves Christians that, I'm sorry, but if there's nothing in your heart going on about it, if you are not loyal to Christ and a Christian nation, I have a problem with your calling yourself a Christian, because how are you following him? If you're Jewish, how are you following Jews? You know, those terms are a dangerous syntax, because we lump people in there that probably don't belong.
Now,
you talked about the Jewish grandmother or whatever. You don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater just because a bunch of Zionists are pretending to be who they ain't.
That's right. That's right. Voice in the wilderness, so to speak. The Big Cal said on the chat room. And that's exactly what the way church is. I got to tell you, folks, I've been in churches for all over, you know, I've been in churches before. And the bigger they are, the less comfortable I feel with it, because I don't feel God there. I don't feel that God there. And I feel when I go to the Way Church, when we meet out in the out on Jake Wade's ranch, we meet out there. It's in the wilderness. It takes me a little while to drive there, but I feel more comfortable. I get more out of that than I've ever heard from any of your TV preachers, any of your firewalls, even you know, your Hagees out there. It just ain't there. It ain't there. You know, I can't even watch it on TV. I'll turn it off in a moment.
Well, we're doing this very purposely, as closely to how Jesus did it as we could, and he didn't go into the temple, into the church, and preach. He sat on the side of a hill, and people ate lunch, and he taught on the side of a hill.
And that's why you came up with the Church in the Wilderness, the Way Church.
That's right. That is right.
It's, I think you've done excellent work, Dr. Wade. And I appreciate being a part of this. I appreciate being a part of it. By the way, folks, let me tell you that this show will be up on Facebook. It'll be up on YouTube. And tomorrow is Friday. The Truth Seekers meeting is in Austin. The Truth Seekers meeting is in Austin, and excuse me, sir. It's we will be showing my film, The True Face of FEMA. I filmed the first Homeland Security meeting right after we rolled FEMA, after they rolled FEMA into the Crystal. After they rolled FEMA into the Homeland Security, DHS, then I filmed it. I filmed it, and I got the official film from Sunday Labs to do that. And we filmed it too, but I got the backup of the meeting from Kirtland Air Force Base. We'll be showing that at the Truth Seekers meeting. It's going to be meeting on. It's going to be meeting at Hills Cafe on Congress, 4700 Congress in Austin. Now, for all you trolls on there that keep threatening me and keep saying somebody's looking for me, well, it's at the top of my website, so you know where I'm going to be. You know where I'm going to be at, and I certainly hope, Jake, you can make it there too. I think it ought to be a pretty good time. You'll get to hear Colonel John Brinkerhoff lecturing law enforcement and telling them, in case of a single outbreak of smallpox in a major metropolitan area, we'll need 400,000 well-armed, well-trained, organized, disciplined troops to control the American people, or, you know, or a natural disaster of significant magnitude. And by the way, folks, these if you listen to my show about 2 days ago, I told you what the chemtrails are about. This is weather modification. This is that we are going through a dust storm in the universe. The sun is heating up. It's absorbing this. It's heating up. It ain't global warming. It ain't cows farting. That ain't the cause
Amen.
of it.
Amen. Go. Amen.
That ain't the cause of it. They know it. They're scared, so they built the underground shelters, but they don't want to live down there either. So about 10 years ago, and I do have my film chemtrails that I did over 10 years ago, there still hasn't been any more information other than what I'm giving you right now of why they're doing it. They've got 10,000 planes flying all over the world and putting this screen down of aluminum, iron, and barium to reflect some of the sun, some of the radiation that's coming from the sun. And they are not concerned with the poisoning of the people with the aluminum.
It's poisoning our farmlands as well.
Yes. Yes. That's right. It's
you know, you talk about a group that's very well funded and very well covered by the powers that be, but you can call a scorpion a dove all you want to and keep changing the name but it's still a scorpion. And I don't see Homeland Security or any of those bunches being any different, no matter what you call them. But they're, again, another invasion into the space and into privacy that I've never seen them really get anything done on time or efficiently that didn't actually happen with the local people taking care of themselves.
Well, this, folks, Jake have really, what you said a while ago, if you're Jewish, if you're a Muslim, you want to come to our church, to our meetings, you're welcome there. You're welcome there. You know, just don't try to sell me on reading your scrolls or following the Talmud. I've read the Talmud, and it's an evil, evil book. I mean, this to me, I've got this up. Let me quote this, Jake, and I'd like to get your thing about it. I said we're in one little space here. This is by a different author, not me. We're in a critical situation. It was never Palestine that, on its own, that organized Jewry wanted. Palestine was simply to be their base of operation for the conquest of the rest of the world. Palestine, according to Israel Shamir, Palestine is not the ultimate goal of the Jews. The world is. Palestine is just a place for the world headquarters. The Jews intend to turn Jerusalem into the supreme capital of the world and its rebuilt temple into the focal point of the spirit on earth. Christianity will die. The spirit will depart from the nations in our part of the world, and our present dubious democracy will be supplanted by a vast theocratic state. The spiritualized and uprooted, homeless and lonely, yesterday's masters of the world, wasps, will become slaves in all but name. The Jewish universe is good for Jews, it's a curse for others. In the U.S., as Jewish influence has grown steadily since 1968, the lives of ordinary people have worsened. A good time for the Jews is not a good time for mankind. The blessings of the Jews is a curse for others. The regimes that are good for the Jews are rarely good for anyone else. And it's followed immediately by a quote by President John F. Kennedy. There is a plot in this country to enslave every man, woman, and child. Before I leave this high and noble office, I intend to expose this plot. That was right before his assassination. And it's also followed by two more quotes. We, the Jewish people, control America, and Americans know it, said Israeli Prime Minister Ariel Sharon on October 3rd, 2001. There is only one power that really counts, the power of political pressure. We Jews are the most powerful people on earth because we have this power and we know how to obey it, said the Zionist leader and founder of the Irgun terrorist group in the Jewish Daily Bulletin, July 27, 1935. Folks, I am not anti-Semitic. I am not bashing Jews. I am giving you the information. I am trying to educate you so you know what we're facing. And what do you think about that, Dr. Jake Wade?
I'm not going to argue with it, and I won't fully support it. I'll just give you, as I usually do, another Bible quote or two.
Very good, sir.
In the book of Jeremiah and in the book of Ezekiel, both those prophets stated that they had a whole bunch of guys running around acting like rabbis, priests, prophets, whatever you want to call them, pastors, who God, through those two guys, said, I have not told y'all to say what you're saying. I have not given you power. I have not given you authority. You are not called by me, and yet you're leading a people. And I will leave it at that, because I think that's the crux of what you just quoted, is that there's a misled people by a leadership that's not valid. And we got the same thing in this country. Let's do Christian, let's do American. You got the same problem. You've got some leadership that has taken a wrong trick, which is not godly. It's not of America. It's not for the people or by the people, and that's where we stand.
And it's never been easy to be free. I mean, the prophets that wrote about this 2,000 years ago, more than 2,000.
Well, it's like a marriage. You got to keep working at it.
That's right. The reason they are so wise, they were fighting the same battles and probably the same people that we are today.
Did you quote "There's nothing new under the sun" by Solomon?
Yes, sir. I sure did. As a matter of fact, in my fiction books, Solomon is basically it's a character I created 40 years ago about what it would be like if Jesus came back today. And I wrote it 40 years ago. So, the name's been changed to protect the innocent. Yeah, it's, who would Jesus bomb today, Jake? I mean, come on, we've got these wars going. These warmongers have to be stopped. Because they don't care who they are.
Well, that's like I said, and you and I have always agreed that we need to take a different approach than evil and the hooligans do. We're just the same as them.
Yeah, but they said Jesus would be called a terrorist today and put on a no-fly list. All right, Dr. Jake Wade, folks. Jake, I hope you can make it up. Hope you can make it up to the Truth Seekers meeting, and we're going to be showing Truth of FEMA. So, you guys, we're out of time. You guys have a great day. And Jake Wade, thank you for being on my show, sir. See you on Sunday.
What?